Hey guys, so Jade had his assessment on Saturday. It's now Tuesday, so I thought it was about time I just made a quick video while I can just about remember, like I'm so tired, but while I can just about remember what happened and the kind of general process, yeah, that's the word, process of kind of what happened. So we stayed up in Coventry the night before, which is only I think about 40 miles from here, but I didn't want it to be a mad rush in the morning because we needed to be there at 9 a.m. So we got there about 10 minutes early, went straight in. It's just like one small little office, and she had like bookshelves of toys and stuff to the side. And she just sort of said to Jade to start with that he could choose any toys that he wanted to play with. She just checked with me, just like his language level in terms of like what kind of questions she could use and that kind of thing. And then she just let him start playing and was just kind of informally asking him questions while he was playing and that kind of thing. So to start with, it was all very led by him, I suppose. Like the conversation kind of, it wasn't like set questions, it was kind of like from one question she'd lead on to another question. So she had a camera set up to film it, just so that obviously she can watch it back and use that as evidence as well, which Jade was absolutely fine with, because he likes to do videos and stuff at home because he wants to have a YouTube channel because he watches so much YouTube. So one of the first things she was asking him was just like about school and about whether he could remember what he did for his birthday, which he said no, which was weird because we went on holiday for his birthday. Yeah, then they got into emotions, which obviously quite a big thing for Jade, to understand and recognise emotions in himself and in other people. And she said, what makes you happy? And he said, playing with my cars, which is quite an obvious one for Jade. And then she said, how did she word it? If I'd never been happy, or I didn't know what happiness was, how would I know if I was happy? And he really struggled with that question. He didn't really know what to say. And then she said, if mummy's angry, what does she do? And I was like, oh, he's going to say like shout or gets really mad or something. And he said, stays in bed under the covers. So I don't know whether he was getting confused with when I was really quite poorly recently, or sad or something. I don't know, but that's not probably something that you do when you're angry. Yeah, conversation just flowed for a good probably like half an hour, and it was just quite led by, he was playing and he had like a wooden cake that you could slice with like the toy knife, and he was kind of struggling to do that, but then he managed it. And she said, shall we eat it? And he was like, are you mad? He's just like, it's not real. Which I think that's quite like a typical, I don't know whether it's just being so literal or whether it's that lack of kind of imaginative play that he was just like, nope. Then they moved on to kind of, once they'd got all of that, there was obviously a lot more to it. The conversation was about half an hour long of being kind of like, it was led by him, but obviously she wove in things that she wanted to ask. And then they moved on to more like task related things. So the first one was it was like a book of pictures but with no words, and he had to tell the story, and he did it, but it was quite prompted. And then at one point he just kind of completely stopped and walked away and kind of came over to me looking like quite worried, and I just, there's no right and wrong, because that's what he worries when he's at school and thinks about getting things about giving wrong answers and that kind of thing. So it's like, there's no, it's just whatever you think, you can say anything. So we went back over and had another try. And then the next one was, she gave him a random assortment of objects. So there was a car to try in like cars, but then there was a rabbit, a dragon or something, a hammer. It was like a random, and he had to try and make a story out of it. But the story was just that the hammer smashed the car up, and then everything jumped off a cliff, which was the edge of the table. And then that was the story over. Like, okay. Oh, and then at one point he was talking about vampires. I was like, oh my god, I don't know why he's got that from. I don't know why he's talking about vampires. But I tried my best, and I managed to just about bite my tongue through the majority of it, because particularly where it was like direct questions that she was asking, or the tasks, it would have been so easy to keep going, Jaden, concentrate, Jaden, listen to the lay, because she didn't really address him with his name very much, so he was kind of losing attention, or he would just like get quite easily distracted, or whether it was something that he didn't want to. But obviously that's what she needed to see, was kind of like raw, unedited Jaden, how he actually is. And then the final task, probably other things I've forgotten, but the final task was, it was like a puzzle. So they were shaped like plastic, I don't get my words, I like wooden No, I just said plastic, didn't I? They were plastic 3D shapes, and then they were drawn out on the piece of paper, and he had to put them on to like make up this puzzle, and he really struggled with that. And she only gave him half the shapes to start with, and she said, "Do all of those ones, and then I'll give you these other ones. Like, ask me when you want these other ones." But he just got stuck on. He just kept saying, "You've got the one I need. You've got the one I need," and like trying to take the ones that she had. And then it quite abruptly came to an end. So she was putting all the toys away. And he was quite happily helping her put the toys away, but then he wanted to get all the ones that were in her bag, which were like the prompt ones. So there were like free play ones, but then the ones that she had that were like for the task for the prompted play were in her bag, and he was trying to like get all those back out. And I was trying to say to him, "It's time to go now, you know, say goodbye to the lady, it's time to go." And then as Jade does, he switches, because he's now had that kind of transition warning of like in 5-10 minutes we're going, because I didn't even realise it was kind of ending. As we were walking back out towards the front door, I thought the door was locked because it was on like it was in an office block, so it was on like a buzzer intercom thing to come in. It didn't really register in my head that he'd be able to open the door. So I still stood in the hallway talking to the lady, and he's like a little bit ahead of me, and I'm saying, "Jade, don't, you know, wait there, don't go." And then all of a sudden the door opened, and he ran straight out into the road. And again, like not ideal in the slightest, but it's something that it wasn't a bad thing that she saw that, because that's typical. I just emailed her after and said, that is typical. I don't know whether it's a transition-based thing or an overwhelmed-based thing. He said it was because he felt really, really hot and he was trying to cool down, but I don't know. I think he just found it all a bit too much, which is fine, because it was obviously, because it was a fairly short time frame, it was very intense. It was full on for him. So now we just have to wait. She has to run through it all, so obviously she'll go through that, she'll go through all of the reports. I handed her the ones from his reception teacher, which, like, there's a reason why I've done it now, and a big part of the reason why I've done it now is because his reception teacher understood him so well, and I think schools questionnaires and reports will play a big part in it. And because that teacher understood him so well, there's nothing to say that the teachers that he's got now will understand or have such an understanding of autism or special needs or anything else. So yeah, a big part of why I've done it now is because I could use that teacher. So he's filled in all the forms for me, whereas I think if I'd have waited like, say, 2-3 months time, or even when it got round to when the end of the NHS could be bothered to recall us up, we'd have probably had to do it with different teachers. So what the teacher filled in was great, and it said things like he's learning to play with other children, but it's very much something that has to be encouraged, something which they've worked on. It said the words, it doesn't come naturally to him, and there were quite a lot of other good points that he'd made in there. So she did ask me, she said, "Oh, have you read when I handed them over, she said, have you read them and are you happy with them?" And I was like, yes, very much so. So yeah, now I've got to just wait. She has to sit down with her colleague, well, they're not colleagues as such, but they have to be like a panel. So there's, obviously she's the psychologist, there's this, I can't remember what the other two are, but there's like at least 3 of them that have to sit down together to score it all, and then she writes up the full report. So yeah, I've got to wait for that to come through, but I'm really, really positive about it. I mean, the few days before, and even, to be honest, I think today's the first day in probably 2 weeks that I haven't cried. It's been like, it has been an emotional roller coaster, and I know it's hard to explain. It's not like, it's not the end of the world. It's not a bad, it's something that needed, but it's been an incredibly stressful, it's been incredibly stressful. That's the only way to explain it. If you haven't ever gone through it, then yeah, you wouldn't really understand. But yeah, support with school's going reasonably well at the moment, so I can start to calm down a little bit compared to what I have been. It will no doubt hit me, obviously, when I read the report and that kind of thing, because the reports, these kind of reports, they focus on the negative. Is that the nicest way to say it? Like, it's going to be, it's not going to be like psychologist reports he's had in the past and that kind of thing, and paediatrician reports, school reports. They always obviously balance the negatives and positives and try and like make it overall fairly positive. So they have like on the psychologist ones he's had before, it's had like strengths and weaknesses and that kind of thing, whereas obviously this is going to be deficits in communication and deficits in development and that kind of thing, so it will come across as being negative. But yeah, it is what it is, and We're doing well, really. I mean, I say that. We're surviving. After school every day is horrific. Getting him to